Dreamforce convention is bringing about 50,000 visitors back. But what about the company's regular workforce? Is the CEO Mark Benioff's long-term commitment to the city unwavering? Our media partner, the San Francisco Standard, looked into the numbers. And joining us live now is the Standard's data editor, Tong. Anna, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right, so some 50,000, that's pretty good, but it's still nowhere near the pre-pandemic days for Dreamforce, right?
That's correct. So according to stats I've seen, in pre-pandemic days, there would sometimes be over 200,000 folks that were coming in person to attend Dreamforce.
All right, but it's a good start and no doubt welcome by a city that needs visitors and their money. Yes. But a convention is still a one-week event. What about the day-to-day? Salesforce is one of the biggest employers in the city. Having employees downtown daily is a central piece of the city's recovery plan. Is that happening at Salesforce? What is their back-to-work plan?
Yeah, so Salesforce is the city's largest private employer, and their CEO, Mark Benioff, has really played, you can't really overstate how important of a role he's played in SF, both in the business community and in the philanthropic community. And in terms of their workers coming back to downtown, they really haven't made any back to office mandates. So they said in March that they were committed to doing so, but it seems like they've kind of actually migrated a little bit away from that. So their employees are still not required to come back. And he said recently, hey, we're not going to have any in-office mandates. And at the same time, they've also shed a ton of their San Francisco office real estate while also getting other real estate. So for instance, they bought this they leased a corporate retreat center in Santa Cruz for their employees to stay overnight and do stuff like yoga and bonding, that kind of thing.
All right,
so that's
just
the status of
looking at
Salesforce.
where they're picking up office space or real estate, if I were a city leader, I might be a little concerned. One other place to look for clues is in his tweets, right? And I know you also looked at that. So we're going to put up that graph and you explain what you're gleaning from this.
Yeah, so I mean, Mark Benioff is very famous. He's very voluble on Twitter, and he says what he thinks. There's no PR person really like pulling the strings for his Twitter account. And so you can really tell what's on his mind based on how often he mentions certain things on Twitter. So you can see in 2015, 16, 17, 18, even 19, he mentioned San Francisco a lot, and especially in 2018, because he was really promoting Prop C, which was a homelessness tax that he essentially got passed. And then after that, you can see that his interest in SF or San Francisco has waned a little bit, and it's been replaced by other interests. So Hawaii. So he loves Hawaii, and he spent a lot of time there during COVID. He's also really interested in climate. He's really interested in ocean, like saving the ocean, and then he's also super interested in trees. So if you look at his Twitter, you would kind of maybe make the conclusion that he's less interested in SF these days and more interested in climate change in Hawaii.
Wow, that's interesting. But perhaps time spent in Hawaii is not unique among CEOs in tech. I'm sure Zuckerberg has spent a lot of time there and still very much committed to growing Facebook here. So I guess bottom line, what is the takeaway?
I guess the takeaway is, and I think Mark Benioff has said this himself in interviews, is, he said, like, I'm moving on to another quadrant in my life. I'm thinking about bigger problems now. I'm thinking about climate change a lot. So I think, and we talked to some folks that knew him, and what they were saying was, it's perhaps he hasn't so much as abandoned SF, but he's really onto a new phase in his life. There's a co-CEO of Salesforce now. He's thinking about just bigger, broader issues than simply just focusing specifically on San Francisco. And maybe he feels like his work in San Francisco is done. I mean, he has Salesforce's name on the tallest skyscraper in the city. He's done so much philanthropy. So perhaps, he is moving on to bigger and better issues. But at the same time, in SF, we're facing one of the biggest crises we've ever faced, which is that office workers are not returning to downtown. 75% of the city's GDP is reliant on downtown office work. So we really need his help here, and we need him to help us get our ways out of this problem.
All right, we'll see what San Francisco Mayor London Breed will have to say about that when she joins us next. Thank you, Tong. Really appreciate it. Folks, if you want to check out San Francisco Standard's other original reporting on their website, sfstandard.com.